Hey everyone, thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Keeping It Positive. This week's episode was another treat. Um, this guest is one of the most amazing guys you'll ever come across. His name is Joseph Bull McGibbon. He's the head of residence at Laurentian University, and he's one of the most tremendous guys you'll ever meet. I was able to have the opportunity to meet him when I was a student at Laurentian, and obviously he worked there. We got to meet each other through mutual friends, and I'm forever grateful for that experience. We've been friends since then, and we'll be for the rest of our lives. And he's just that great guy that you want in your corner, and I'm so fortunate and privileged to have the opportunity to call him a really good friend. And he's always one to lead by example. He's always one to help others in need and put himself last and everyone first. And to put he would give the shirt off his back to help you. And he's just a solid guy, a salt of the earth guy with a massive heart of gold. And everyone that knows him loves him, and I can't say enough great things about him. In this interview or podcast, we talk a little bit about everything, life in general, to his role at Laurentian, to everything in between, and how he became a travel agent, and love for sports, and family and friends, and everything under the sun, so to say. So I every time we get together, we laugh like crazy. You'll hear it or you'll see in the pod, and it's a like I said, it's a true privilege to have a friendship like him. And I think friends are there to lift each other up and cheer each other on, and make each other's lives that much better. And I'm so fortunate to have so many friends like that do that for me. But Bull is one of those guys, and I'm forever grateful. And I really hope you enjoy this episode as much as I did recording it. And thanks again to Joey for the opportunity to say yes. And I know he razzed me a little bit about being episode number 12, um, but it's a when you land a big one, and for me, Joey is a big one. So no matter what episode he is, he's a great person to have on. Gives you a great perspective, and he has a great attitude, a great outlook on life, um, and to hear it, I think it's very beneficial. And it's a breath of fresh air. It's very encouraging, so on and so forth. So without further ado, this is episode number 12, keeping it positive. Hope you enjoy. We are recording. This is
All
awesome.
right.
Well, thank you, Bull, for being able to do this podcast tonight. It's going to be so much fun. And when I thought of guests that I would like to have on, you were one that I really wanted to, and I feel like I caught a big fish. This is going to be great.
That's awesome. Well, hopefully I'm not that big, but okay, sure.
Yeah,
We're I'm number 12 in the series, so you
there
picked
you go.
11 before me, but I'll take top 12. I'll take it.
It's still good.
I'm just a little upset that you picked JP Reigns over me, but we'll talk about that another day. It's great to see you.
It's so good to see you too. Like I'm just trying to talk and I'm laughing too much. That's how all our conversations go, and that's just the type of guy you are here. You always bring out the best, and it's always happy. It's always laughter. It's perfect, and you're a perfect guy, perfect guest for this podcast. So I can't wait to get started. And yeah, I guess I always have a hard time with the introductions, and I guess maybe just introduce yourself, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, sure. Well, I'm Joe McGibbon, or everybody calls me Bull. Uh, yeah, I work at Laurentian University. I've worked there since 2006. Just really quick, grew up in a small town, Waterford, Ontario, and then came up for the same program that you went to, the sports administration program at Laurentian. And then, from there, yeah, now I'm very fortunate to have two beautiful daughters and a beautiful wife and the best dog a guy could ask for, Walter. And yeah, so that's just a little quick thing about me.
And that's perfect. I think it kind of like when I think about you, I think about so many different things, right? And maybe I wanted to kind of first off touch on like the start of your career, and you mentioned a little bit about SPAD, and maybe start. We'll start from the really beginning, I guess, from SPAD and then how you kind of came about to your career. But how did SPAD give you the foundation to be where you are today?
Yeah, it's a great question. Like I remember back like loving sports and everything, and my guidance counselor told me about this program because I always loved business and sports. So I came up to Laurentian for this sports administration program. I like to tell people about 100 years ago, but 1996, I'll date myself. I came up for the sports administration program. Really learned a lot. I'll touch on this as well, probably through our conversation, but I also learned a lot about myself and living on my own and living in residence at the same time while going to class, sometimes going to class. Um, so I went through the sports program. I love the business side of it. I like the sports side of it, it helped me to get to know people, meet people, network, build more relationships. But at the same time, like I said, I was like a resident assistant, like living on the floors in the Laurentian residence, and I was finding, kind of transition your question. I was finding that I enjoyed that more. I'd always enjoyed like running events since like growing up and like being around people and building relationships. And so, kind of in my last year of SPAD, I kind of went through the motions, did our presentation to the Ottawa Senators and graduated, and then went on to, work just in the residence life field. So, really nothing to do with sports, but it definitely gave me a great background foundation, for the career I'm in now.
Mhm. And I know you went to Kansas City for your master's. Did you do that right after Laurentian, right after school?
Yeah, no, actually, like I was at Laurentian, and I was just looking for any job I could get, and I applied and I moved to University of Victoria and I lived there for 2 years.
No
I
way, I
was a
didn't know
resident
that.
director. Yeah, I was in Victoria on the West Coast for a couple of years.
Huh.
So,
What did
and
you
then yeah, so I was in residence. I was called a resident director. So we had I think 16 buildings at the time. So I was responsible for like kind of overseeing all the student staff there and dealing with emergencies and things like that. And in my off time, like just totally enjoying the West Coast, the ocean and the beautiful weather all year for sure. So then after that contract was going to end, I was just applying for positions. I found this graduate assistantship. So they said, "Do you want to come to Kansas City, check out this university, and if it works out, we'll pay for your master's and your apartment and your meal plan." And I said, "Well, why not?" So that all happened, and I moved to Kansas City, and I worked at a small university called Park University, and just kind of managed a couple of residence buildings while I did my business MBA program. Yeah, and that's kind of how I ended up there, and then that's how I, fell in love with the Kansas City Chiefs. As you can see, you're wearing the right jersey today,
this is the
and
one you got? It's very, very
because
special.
Ryan's number one, he's wearing the number one jersey. He's not Xavier worthy. He's pretty fast, but not as fast as Xavier some days.
Pretty
Um,
slow.
you could be sometimes fast, and anyway, so then I that's how I became a big fan of the Kansas City Chiefs, like way before all of this hype that's been happening recently. And not a big, I'm a Taylor Swift fan, but not like some of these people.
Yeah. I love how you have to specify that you were a fan before they were good.
Yeah,
You,
exactly.
you are a true fan.
I have the pictures to prove from my daughters and their little cheerleader outfits from when they were, I think, 6 and 8. And I feel like I was the only person in Sudbury that liked the Chiefs. I met this guy named Kangas, and his name was just like Kansas when growing up. So he liked Kansas City Chiefs. So me and Kangas we're the two people in Sudbury, I think, that like the Kansas City Chiefs, and now there's about 2,000. So, but that's okay. Just more love for my team for sure.
but but you're the real fan.
I try. Yeah.
And so from Kansas City, and how long, when you finish your program, how long, what was the timeline for you to go back to Laurentian?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a funny story. So I left Kansas City. I flew back and I had a wedding. My cousin's wedding was in the East Coast on the East Coast. And I remember I went to Halifax for the weekend. I went to my cousin's wedding, and I had an interview with the Brantford Casino. A bunch of my friends worked at the Brantford Casino. I was like, I don't know what I'm gonna do, so I'll go work there. And I feel like it went really well, and I was gonna get the job. And then when I was out in Halifax, I got a call from my old boss, Paulette, and she said, "Hey, like we haven't been able to fill this position. Like, can you come back and just help for about a month? Like, we need someone." And I said, "Can I sleep on it?" But I already knew I wanted to come back. I always loved Laurentian, like from the day I arrived. So I knew it was just like my home to place to be. So basically, I just, slept on it, woke up, and drove up to Sudbury the next day. So I think I was off for 3 days, and then I was
It's
back, and that was
beautiful.
2006, and now it's 2025. So in the middle of
See,
that time, you were born, and you came to Laurentian, and I met you. I remember seeing you outside the Tim Hortons with your backpack on the back of your chair, and you had three shirts, I think, at that time. They were all white shirts, and you had three famous slogans, and you were trying to sell your shirts around the campus. And then now look at like how successful you are. I mean, we're all so proud of you, Ryan. We can't say enough about how amazing of a guy you are. And I listen a bit of your podcast, and everyone kind of says the same. And just putting on your shirts and your brand, like, just makes us better people every day. So thank you for everything you're doing with the brand.
oh, thank you so much. It means a lot. Like, it is pretty crazy to think that like it started at Laurentian, just like a passion, not a goofy project, but something that I wanted to try, and now I get to do it for a living, which is pretty cool. And I still feel like it's the start. I have so much that I want to do and accomplish. I just don't know how to get there, but I'll eventually get there, one day at a time, right? And
Absolutely.
it's very very special to kind of like reminisce back. I remember that, like the bowling alley or Tim Hortons, or like selling in the library, or and seeing where it all has come. Like as a student, you don't really know what
Oops, sorry.
you
I
no no
knocked something over here. I knocked over my wife's Lion King glass. I might be in trouble. Sorry. Sorry about
you
that.
don't no worries. As a student, you don't really know what you're doing, and you just take it day by day. You try to do what you can to pass all your classes and try to be successful. And you think if you don't pass a class or you fail a test, it's the end of the world. But looking back on it, it's not, right. And I think you just kind of keep moving forward and try to do the best you can with a positive attitude. And I think with school, I had a hard time with school, but I always tried to keep a positive attitude, and that's how I kind of started the brand too, right. And it was just fun, and being able to. I think the coolest thing with the brand is being able to meet great people, and like you're one of those great people. Like my experience at Laurentian, one of my favorite persons to have the opportunity to meet was you, and it's so cool to see our friendship like last this long, and the reason why I think you excel in your job is just the person that you are. Like everyone that's involved with residents, you always try to keep tabs on, and if they come back, and they come to lunch and they come see you, and I think you guys, you're more than a residence, you're more than a school. Like it's a big family, which is pretty
Mhm.
special, right? And I remember you buying some T-shirts on me. There's a memory the other day. Like I'm holding up one of the Love, Dream, Believe, Achieve ones, and I don't have that one anymore. But I have to bring it back. The the bowl edition. Maybe
Exactly.
maybe maybe Kansas
Kansas
City
City
comes.
coach. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
but it's so
Put
cool to
Taylor
see.
Swift on there, maybe you'll sell millions of them, right?
Yeah, maybe. You know, it's not a bad idea. But but just to kind of think about that is like meeting you in the bowling alley, and I didn't even live in residence, and it just I
Hmm.
think it's like faith. You just meet people and you click, and it's like glue, and just like when you see each other, it's a special feeling, and like we might not talk for maybe a month or two, but when we do, it's like we don't skip a beat. And every year I'm fortunate enough to go to residence and talk to your RAs, and that's something really cool to see, like the evolution of it, and seeing the new crop of kids, the new leaders, and you're able to have that positive impact on those kids, right? And I think one of my questions that I really wanted to get into is like as a role, as like the residence manager, like what is your day to day, like what's your big, I know you wear many hats, but maybe kind of
Hmm.
elaborate on what you do on a day to day basis, and your kind of your vision with everything.
Yeah, that's a great question. And just thinking back real quick too, I think it was Tom Zapado that was like, "You got to meet this guy. This is a great guy." Yeah, I'm like, "Okay, yeah, that'd be great." So I think I met you, and you were also like working with the lacrosse team and doing speeches. I think they went 0-84 that
And
year. So I don't know about your your motivation, but I'm sure they loved you. So I think you hung up your hat on the. No, I'm just joking. On
yeah,
the team
it,
motivation, but
it,
no, I'm
it,
kidding. But yeah, it was obviously great to get to watch you like graduate and like as the old man in the room and go on to build your brand. But your question about what I do day to day is a great question. Like my daughters have came to my work and they're like they come home and they report back to my wife that I just send a few emails and I do nothing, which uh, so that's a great day if that happens. But that's I think I have certain tasks that I do for sure. I manage and supervise the student staff along with a amazing colleague of mine, Holly, and we kind of oversee everything in residence from safety to events to anything that kind of comes our way, and then we respond and help with student behaviors, I guess, is a big one.
mhm,
So if there's a mental health crisis or any other kind of crisis, we're part of a behavioral intervention team as well on campus. So we meet and discuss like at-risk cases and try to figure out solutions and help students on campus. So and then I also kind of oversee the food services contract on campus, which can be challenging at times because there's no restaurant, even the keg, that doesn't get complaints. So there's that, and then some facility projects and things like that. And this year became the president of our managers association.
you
Um,
know what?
it's non-paid and lots of fun, and but it's been a really great experience with that. So I've gotten to be closer with the President Wells, and different people at the university. So yeah, I guess I didn't really answer it great, but just kind of everything. You
Yeah.
know, um, seem to be not trying to talk good about myself because that's weird. Like if people want stuff to be done, they'll ask me, and I'll help make it happen. And I know everybody on campus, so that's a big asset I guess I have, or I'm lucky to have. Yeah.
But I think this is what this podcast is all about. I want to have people that are good people, and that make the world a better place. But it's a platform to elevate people, that shine light on the amazing things that you do, and you do so much for the Laurentian community. And I think it's so interesting. Like you have like you do the jobs of like 10, 15 people. It seems like you touch a little bit on everything. Like the food services, for example, there's probably so many things that you have to deal with, like make sure everyone's happy, and there's different different varieties of food for different people, and
Mhm.
trying to change that up and make sure it's fair for the students. And there's a business side, but there's also what kind of food probably and there's so many different things with that. And then with the mental health side of things like the crisis interventions, and I think that's super important. That's something I wanted to touch on as well. Is we live in a day and age where there's more awareness with mental health and it's more accepted, right? And I think that's super super important. I think being going to Laurentian or going to university in general as a kid, you're usually 17, 18 years old, and we're still babies. We, as 18-year-olds, we think we're adults, but we're not, you know? And
Exactly.
when something bad happens, we think it's the end of the world, and we take things so serious. And as we grow up and mature, and we realize, like, well, maybe failing a test is not that bad. You just try and try and try again. But I think services like that is very, very important because if people need help, it's important to let them know to reach out and they're not alone. And there's always people to help and there's always people to be comfort and you, right? And when you leave home as a kid and you go into residence, families and parents trust you guys to take care of
Mhm.
their kids to some extent, right? And I think that's such a cool responsibility to be able to do so.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think it all starts when we talk about mental health from day one, and a lot of stuff like when we talk about the students in residence and on campus, we talk about um, well, actually before day one, we make sure that our student staff are all first of all going through and getting to know each other, and we do team building. We do days away, and I'm sure some outsiders look at that as like they're just playing games together and they're wasting time and wasting university money or whatever. But our student staff are the people that we pick from the interview process. We're picking them on purpose because we feel like they have big hearts and their motivation is to help people. And from there, then we go to, and I'll get into your mental health conversation, but from there we go to training. And when we're in our training, we're going through those things. We have mental health first aid. We have, like I said, a lot of team building, so the staff can rely on each other, help each other, and build the basis for the community. And then from day one, the first thing we're doing is trying to build community because I believe like the answer to mental health support. I mean, not talking about a lot of the really complex cases because it's hard. It's more complex than I'm making it sound simple. Is building the community. So then you build the community. You build like smaller communities first, and you build it up to the whole building. And then you hope that you're just giving all these students opportunity to meet each other, meet good friends, meet good student staff that are there for them, because guys like me and you can't be everywhere. We're not going to be there at 2 a.m. when there's a crisis for a student, and my student staff maybe, but maybe it'll be the roommate, maybe it'll be the floor mate. So everyone's super important to that, and then we don't leave anyone behind in that. If there's a student out living on a floor where the student staff hasn't seen them all week, then they're going to go knock on their door and find out where they are. So
Mhm.
mental health, to your point, is more prevalent for sure. A lot more people have a lot of high anxiety, but one of the positive things, I think the stigma is a lot less now, and people ask for help, and that's been really great, to be able to help them, get the resources they need on campus. And that's not always the best answer. Uh, like it doesn't always work, just like anything in life. But we try to encourage them to keep trying different things until they get to the point where they can live with their mental health, and things start to get better for them.
And over like since you've been doing this for so long, have you seen like a progression of people reaching out more and being okay to ask for help? Is it not normalized? Is but you see it more often?
Oh, 100%. I mean, I was like, school in the 90s. Like, I don't even know anybody knew what mental health was. Like, people would just, like, if they were upset, they would just drink and, go to the bar and, get mad, punch a wall or something, I think, and then, just, I don't know. I mean, I think back then, obviously, the stigma was like that those were, outsiders, or that was, like, I don't know what appropriate word to say is, not cool or whatever, and but we were always caring as like resident staff as well about people. They just didn't label it like mental health, but then it started to get more and more, and I find residence goes like in trends, residence life. So it'll be, something that, everyone's, talking about mental health and decreasing the stigma, and then, there's bullying, and different topics, and a lot of that does come from the high schools as well, because they're taught on that in the high school. And LGBT population, we've seen all of these things, I think, but I'm white privileged male, uh like I've seen, them get better now. For example, in residence, like people are saying, "Oh, I'm going to go to my therapy appointment this afternoon," and people are like, "Yeah, I'll see you after that." It's that's normal. And a student may, they may have a floor meeting, and a student says, "I'm transitioning. I'm a female now," and everyone claps on the floor and congratulates them. And then they turn to their friend and say, "Are we going for pizza later? Like, what are we doing? Are we going to the Great Hall?" It's that, at least in my experience in our residence, mostly like, this is life. And I find the students are very accepting of all that now, which is amazing to see, as we think about the way things were back in the 90s and 2000s. It was not talked about, and it was, people were scared to talk about any of those subjects, not mental health, coming out, anything like that, for sure. Now they kind of go together, but yeah,
Well,
for
I
sure.
think it's all about being accepting towards
Mm.
people, right? And accepting people for who they are. And I think everyone is special and unique in their own way. And everyone, like if everyone was the same, life would be so boring, right? And I think being able to be accepting, being able to love people the way they are, it really makes a huge difference, right? Because when you think about it, if you're living in residence, you're a first year student, you don't know anyone in the city, you're in a new program, uh, so everything is harder, and then you might be going through stuff, and imagine if people made fun of you or didn't accept you for who you are, how much more of a difficult process university would be.
Absolutely. And not even like, people look at people and like, maybe they're acting out, maybe they're causing fights in their apartment, maybe they're, different things, and they're like, "I hate that person. That's such a mean person." We try to have a conversation about, maybe that person you feel like is like that right now. So people can, I don't want to say they can change, but like, people are in a bad spot right now, potentially. Like, so let's not talk bad about them in these, they're
Mm.
going through some hard times potentially. But just because they're, acting out and doing certain things now doesn't define them for the rest of their life. Like, we all, through our first year, had struggles, or were maybe mean to someone or whatever. But it's not just the person, it's also the time and situation, like you said, and their environment and the environment they came from. Like, it's a lot more complex than just like looking at someone, assuming they're, a bad person. So, for sure.
And for you, that's probably the tricky part, right? Like every person is different, so there's always a different approach, right? And there's no cookie cutter template. And the more that you do it, the better that you get, right? And you might get a different case that you've never dealt with before, and then you're like, how do I deal with this? But you just figure it out, right? And I think it's a lot about learning and using your past experiences to try to get the best outcome possible.
Yeah, and I learned from you one time. I remember you did a talk to RAs. I think you used the example, you had a water bottle, and you, like, I don't know if you pretended that you couldn't open it or whatever, and then and then you asked someone for help, and they opened the water bottle, and then you talked to people and told them about, that it's okay to ask for help. Like, it's
Mm.
okay. So even like, to your point, yeah, like, we have all these new cases and we have all these new things, and you go on your experiences, but we don't do it alone. I don't do any of this by myself, and neither
No.
should you or a student in struggle. Like, that's what we try to explain to our staff as well. Like, so I'm lucky that we have, kind of a behavioral intervention team, a great group of colleagues that are like-minded, where they care about the students, that we have weekly meetings, or we have like ad hoc meetings when needed, and we go over overview of the student situation and how we can sorry, how we can help them. So I mean, I think, to that point, like, you're right, like they're all different situations, but we have to remember that we're all here to help each other as well.
And what one of my favorite quotes is like, "It takes a village, right? You
Hmm.
can't do it all on your own." And I wouldn't be where I am without my parents or family or friends. And people think, yeah, it's me working all the time, but I have help from other people. Other people motivate me too, right? And people have strengths and weaknesses, and I think it's important to always work on your weaknesses and always try to improve your strengths to be better. But it takes a village to do something pretty special. When you think about it in like sports terms, you need if you think about like any championship team, every player on the team has to contribute in a positive way. They have to come together as a cohesive unit and gel together and work together to get to the end goal to win a championship, right? And like, but we as individuals have to be the MVP of our own team, and we got to be the most valuable player. Like, if we don't believe in ourselves, no one else will. And I think it all starts within us, and asking for help or asking like we can't do it all by ourselves. And I think having a good
Yeah.
team, like you were saying, I think that's super important. And that's what I think Laurentian. That's one of their strengths, right? Is having a good team, having good faculty, and like even what Lorenz has been going through right now with his homelessness, and like they're on the mend now, which is amazing. But it kind of
Mhm.
takes a village too, and you probably see that as the president of what you're I forget the term, your
Oh,
presidency of
absolutely.
pardon me,
Uh, the Managers Association, yeah, the
yeah,
LOAPSA, it's called LOAPSA, yeah. Yeah,
Loax.
absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
Like you see like all the faculty there and what they're trying to do. It takes a village to get out of a situation like that. And you guys are rising from the ashes, so to say, right? Like the phoenix rising through the ashes. And and
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and it's there. There were some dark times. There was a lot of good times, but there was a lot of dark times, and now it's becoming good times again, which is really cool. And I kind of wanted to transition to that a little bit. Like you, like for myself, I my first year was in 2011. I remember it was before any renovations, and people loved Laurentian because it was Laurentian. Like people loved the greasy pub, and people loved like the old school feel of Laurentian. Like it was Laurentian was built in a weird way, in a weird time where like in the '80s where it was kind of modern but still old. It wasn't like it's not like Western where it has all these old buildings and it looks like the old days like in like the really old days. With us, it was kind of like modern, but we're kind of
Hmm.
stuck in a different in the middle kind of thing, right? And but we loved it because it was ours, right? And we embraced it. And I think and I kind of left the when the renovations were kind of starting, but we're starting, but not really a lot was done, and now it's totally different. But maybe talk about like the good and then the bad and then the good again, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the good, like, you talked about like the renovations, the buildings, things like that, and I don't want to minimize it, because obviously there's importance on, having high tech labs, things like that. My wife's working at Cambridge now, and they have like really expensive like mannequins that she works in the nursing program, and they do these amazing things. So you obviously need some of that. But the reason we all love Laurentian back then, or we love Laurentian now, is nothing to do with that. It has everything to do with the community and the
Mm,
people. Like if we think back to those days, like you mentioned, like I remember going to the pub with 150 of my best friends. Where else would I ever get that experience? And I grew up in a small town, and I would walk uptown and I'd wave to everybody as I got the mail. And then I moved to Laurentian residence, and I walked from one side from UC to the end of SSR before we had the new buildings, and I said hi to everybody, and it was the exact same thing. And we built that community, and we love that community. So that, that was the good, and the good, I guess, has always been the people. Also lots of other good things, the SPAD program, other strong programs, lots of great infrastructure, things like that. The bad for sure came from the CCAA insolvency, in tough times. When we talk about positivity, I just wanted to touch on the fact that I don't feel like you can have, maybe this is not something to quote me on or something that even makes sense, but like have positivity without negativity. Like you wouldn't understand how good it is and how good it can be if you haven't had some rough times. So, if you're a spoiled kid growing up, like, what's there to be, positive about or try to achieve, or whatever, when you already have, like, in your mind, you have it all, right? So we had to like be able to have the reality of life that we went through this bankruptcy. And in my mind, like, I'm not saying we're going to forget or whatever, but like, we have to move on. We have to
Mm-hmm.
say, like, that happened, like, we lost people, that's very sad, but we still have these people, we have these foundations, we have these buildings, we have, new students coming in. Let's focus on them, and let's focus, like you've said so many times, like on every day we have, I don't remember the seconds in a week that you told me once that you had, but 168 hours a week, like, let's try to make the most of this with the people we have now. And
Mm-hmm.
so I guess kind of like roundabout, like, it's all good, at the end of the day, it's all good, is, kind of how I look at it. Even the bad is good.
Yeah, and I think that's so true. Sometimes they're like something bad happens, but you always gotta try to see the good in it, you know. And sometimes we go through bad things, and I think it's good if we have a learning experience out of it, and it makes you
Mhm.
stronger, and it makes you wiser, and it makes you better, right? And I think going through difficult situations allow us to be the people that we are, right? And I
Mhm.
think sometimes you got to go through that to learn, and those are your most valuable lessons. Like, you know what not to do now, and I think um, trying to like sometimes people are get bitter, and I think instead of getting bitter, get better, right? And
Yeah, that's a good saying.
and I think it's always important to try to get better no matter what. And I think your perspective on it is bang on. Right? Like, yeah, we're never gonna forget about it, but we gotta move on. And we have so much foundation built already. We gotta utilize that to keep going and to keep making it better and better. And I think there's so many people that are good, and there's so much good in what you guys are doing, what Laurentian is. That I think it's important to utilize the momentum, and keep pushing forward, right? And I think
Mhm.
when you think about that, that's how life is too. Is when something bad happens, you don't stay down. You get back up and you keep trying and you don't give up, right? And
Mhm.
I think that's a valuable lesson for students going to the schools. Like, yeah, Laurentian's been through a lot of things, but they never gave up and they kept going. And that motivates them that, you know what, we can keep doing this too, and we can try to make it better. And I think having people like you and so many other amazing faculty is you guys are moving together in a positive direction, right?
Mhm.
And I still talk to Dr. Church from that, and all the other faculties, and so many amazing things that they're doing with their program, and how the numbers keep going up and up, and starting to get back to normal. It's pretty special to hear.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm so old now that my nephew's girlfriend is in SPAD,
No
and
way.
my oldest daughter is thinking about it. She's wavering and thinking about it. So that's how old I am. So yeah, yeah,
Man, keep the legacy alive.
right. I know. And females in sports, I remember we had 7 in our class in 50 students. So, and talking to Ali, she mentioned that there's not too many. So that's great to see, with the surgence of women's sports and the popularity, obviously Caitlin Clark and, women's hockey and everything. It's great to see more women joining the SPAD as well. So yeah.
I love that. Like, and it's so cool to see women's sports on the on the trajectory that it's going. It's well deserved, right?
Mm,
Um, like being such a sports fan, it's fun to see everyone win, right? And everyone get the flowers they deserve, so to say. And
mm,
it's pretty remarkable. And I think the sports administration program, it gives you that avenue, that confidence. Yeah, and if sports doesn't work out, you have a business degree. You got you still have the opportunity to do something pretty spectacular. And even with you doing what you're doing, it's I think like or for me when I'm doing, I'm not involved with sports per se, but like it gave me a good foundation to
mm,
have success, right? And it taught me a lot about work ethic, building relationships, all the stuff that you like. Yeah, you get a great education, but you get way more than an education. Like you leave as a boy or you start off as a boy or a girl, and then you become men, women. At the end,
mm.
um, and I think it's university is more than just books. It's about time management. It's about having working hard but playing hard too, right? And I think and for you, it must be such a cool feeling to see like first years coming into residence, and then them growing for 4 or 5 years, and see them graduate. Like maybe talk a little bit about that and about that part of your job, is seeing the kids grow from maybe like their parents dropping them off first day to them
Mhm.
graduating. It must be pretty cool.
Yeah, it's very cool. It's very like surreal, like interesting because like even though I'm old, you don't feel like you're old. Like, you're like, oh my gosh, like all these people have came and gone and they're having kids and everything, and you're thinking, how's this possible? Like I'm 22, right? So it's just weird, but there's like all kinds of students. Like so I'll talk about that a bit, but like there's the ones that come in from day one and you just know, like, I mentioned Tom Zapito, like, I could mention so many other people. I don't know why I keep thinking of Tom, but like we have about 50, 60 student staff every year. I mean, this year we had a girl, Audrey, she's going into med school. Like I've had, I don't have to name names because probably only me and you and JP are going to watch this, but um, just kidding. But Caitlin's an OPP officer and so many teachers. And so they come in day one, parents are there and it's the same show. They come in, they drop off their stuff, they go to Walmart, they go out for lunch, they come back, the parent cries, they drop off their kid from day one. And then, generally, like all jokes aside, they're partying with their friends, they're finding their way, they're going to class or they're not going to class. You're kind of watching that. And then you see the ones like, you see them in two different light. I see them because they've done something wrong or they've done something really good. So, and that doesn't mean they're going to end up that way at the end of 4 years. It's interesting, right? Like, so someone could get in trouble, but for being too loud or something like that, not something serious. And then, other people are just at every event. You just see them everywhere. You just see them smiling, being good people, and then they apply for our residence team. And then that's a really great experience because we get to know them more. Oh, your brother plays baseball. You find out a little about, oh, you like fishing. We build relationships with them. And then they go on and you watch the struggles. And I don't know if this is worded right, but the ones that struggle the most, like, are the ones I'm the most proud of. Like, once I see them graduate and move on. Like, no one wants to watch someone struggle, but when you see them, like, at the darkest times, and then watch them, and you hope that you played a tiny part in that, them coming out of that, and then you see them graduate, and then a few years later, you hear they have this job or, they have this family or whatever. Super like amazing feeling, like humbling, like and whether it was me or not, just like super amazing. And then, the other ones too, like they're rock stars. It's really great to see, the Tommy Zappatos of the world going to the Olympics and the Blue Jays and doing all these things. But the other side is like kind of already knew he was going to, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
So love it for him, proud of him, as an example, but also like really proud of the person that went from the darkest times to, having a good life now. So it's kind of the life cycle of a student. And then it's really great to hear, like I had an old RA of mine reach out, and ask me about something about a trip, or whatever on the side. And I'm like, oh, how many kids do you have now? And he's got two kids and he's a teacher and he's doing great. And hearing from them or seeing them is like just an amazing feeling after years of them being moved out of residence. So yeah.
And that's it's super cool. Like it's fun to see. Like there's some people that they it's not like they struggle, but they do well, and then some are on a different path. And I think it's that's like life itself, right? Everyone has their own path, and sometimes things don't work out, but it gives you a redirection into something bigger and better. I think it might suck at the time, but it happens for a reason to some extent, right? And I think it's not about what happens to you; it's about what happens to you and how you handle it, right? A lot of
Hmm.
those kids could have been like they struggled and then they just give up, right? And then with your support of residents, with support of their peers, with support of their family and friends, like they claw themselves back up and they work at it and yeah, like you might have to work harder than other people to get it, but you get it. For me, when I was in school, I would have to work maybe two, three, four times harder than most people, But everyone is different, and I think just know your strengths and know your weaknesses, and try to do the best you can with what you have, right?
Hmm.
And sometimes I would try really hard and still wouldn't get the results that I wanted. So I had to, go back to the drawing board. What worked here? I know what didn't work. What do I have to improve on? And I think uh,
Hmm.
it's being able to now. I think if I would go back to Laurentian or university or school in general, like I'd probably do things differently, right? Now knowing I'm gonna be 32, definitely different mindset. And I think before I would just try to cram everything, and write it on the test and try to do the best I can. But I think like looking back on it now that I'm older, I think it's about trying to enjoy the process, enjoy instead of just focusing on the end result of
Hmm.
passing a test or getting a degree. Like I think enjoying the whole process of it, enjoying what university has to offer, enjoy what school has. It's more than the experience, right? And instead of being a stress case of what, like there's gonna be 50 multiple choice on this test. Like I don't know what to do. This and that. Like enjoy the studying part of it. I know it sounds silly to enjoy studying,
Yeah.
but like try to learn as much as possible, have a different perspective, and try to have a positive spin on it. And I think young kids, especially when I was in school, like I never really thought like that. I just tried to do the best I could and try to cram as much as possible and spit it all on the test and then forget about it and try to do it on the next subject or the next class. And I think instead of maybe taking a step back and realizing like I'm in university, I should have fun. I should enjoy the process of studying and trying to instead of trying to get instead of doing well, I'm just focusing on memorizing the answers and trying to have fun studying,
Mhm.
and I think enjoying the process. And I think the end result would have been better.
Yeah, and I think you're right. I would say like it just depends what you want to do and what you want to be to the level of fun you can have. Like let's
Mm,
the realistically honest, like you want to be a doctor and go to med school, like you're probably gonna have to buckle down and not have as much fun during that time, right? So it's about the balance and the results you want. Like that doesn't mean you can't, study with your friends and order Starbucks and make jokes, and make the best of it. But then you have, us bad guys, I think the best like experience you can have really, like when you look back, like I hate to say this, and for the academics of the world, like earmuffs, but like we can study medium and like have lots of fun, Do we have to, like, I know a lot of your slogans are work hard, like, and all of that. I'm kind of just spelling those, I'm not saying don't work hard, like, but I sometimes I tell my student staff even like, let's, as a team, I kind of invented that. I don't know, it's kind of a dumb thing, but I said, like, let's all work medium. Like here, like when you come on, you have tasks to do on your shift. Like if you each work medium, nobody's gonna, kill themselves running around making beds and doing things like because you've all, done your equal share. So I think with students and academics, like if they put the work in to the level of desired, outcome, like they should have time for having fun and like you said, enjoy the process. But I think when they don't work at least to a certain level, then they're not enjoying the process because, they're behind. And then now they have to just study to catch up. And like, I mean, everybody's different learners and take different time. But yeah, I mean, enjoy the process. And then the other thing I wanted to say was like, I realized that, I'm old and you're medium, but we are all saying these same things and we heard these things before, but like the hardest thing is to actually believe it and listen to it, like when we say like enjoy the process is easy for us to say, but when they're scared about their upcoming midterm, like they're like that's great of this guy to say, but so how do we get through to these students now and say like no, like actually like don't stress about this. This is like a small thing in the life, and in 10 years you're going to be, laughing about this, like, you know.
Hmm. And I think like when you say work medium, in my head, I think it's like a synonym or a different way to say like have a good work life balance. Like it's
Mm-hmm.
important to work, but enjoy it as well. And like, I have a slogan that I always use is it's on some of the teachers like work hard, have fun, and make
Yeah.
history. It's important to work hard, but it's also important to reap the rewards of your hard work and have fun with it, and eventually
Mm-hmm.
you'll make history in your own way, right? And I think it's that's what life's all about, kind of enjoy having like, yeah, you gotta put in the work when it's needed, but you also gotta have fun when it's needed too, and eventually you'll make history in your own way, so to say. I think that's what we're all
Exactly.
trying to do is trying to make like write our own story and try to have a positive impact and try to do good and I think when I think about you, like that's what you try to do on a day-to-day basis, like make Laurentian a little bit better than it was yesterday, right? And make the world a little bit better than it was yesterday. And I think that's the whole goal of life itself. It's just to try to be better as a person, but try to make like have a positive impact on the people around us a little bit and a little bit better every day. It's like that 1% rule, right? Try to get 1% better every single day. And I think it's very, very small, but all the small things add up to something good eventually. And I think I think that's a good way to look at it, right? And
Mm-hmm.
as students or even adults, we sometimes we're stress cases, and like a week from now, the things that bothered us or were stressed, it's not even going to be a big deal anymore. It's
Exactly.
funny to think about.
I had a conversation with a guy the other day. Actually, I don't do a lot of this with students, but he wanted to tell me about some trials and tribulations with relationships he had with someone, and I used my analogy, my oh, it's an analogy, but my I talk about the white picket fence. I talk about how like I think once you get the reality that life's not going to be that white picket fence, you're going to go through high school, meet your sweetheart, you're going to marry them, you're going to get this high paying job, and you're going to have a house with a beautiful white picket fence. Once you realize that that's not the reality of life for most people, like you can move on. So that's kind of what I like try to explain to people. Like right now, you've had these problems trying to find your perfect person in life, or you've you know having troubles at work or whatever, but you're young, like you're going to be taking a different path. Like you have to accept that it's not going to go exactly like you planned. But yeah, and then they, hopefully see that in me. I didn't just, find my wife when I was 20. Like luckily, it took me a while, but I have, the perfect person, perfect wife. I have to talk about her, I'll be in trouble later. Um, so I found Carly and my daughters now, and I'm super happy. But it didn't come from like just like straight out of high school. So that's
Mm.
just the realities of life.
And sometimes people do find it like that, and but sometimes like everyone has their own journey, right? And like I think you're meant to find the right person when you're ready for it, right?
Yeah.
And you meeting Carly in high school, it maybe wouldn't have never worked, you know. And
Hmm.
I think sometimes you gotta mature, and you gotta become the person that you need to be to find that special someone.
Exactly.
And when I kind of think about that too, it's like having a partner to grow old with, and sometimes um, when we're younger, we like a breakup or something didn't work out. It's the end all be all. But when it doesn't work out, you learn from that. You figure out what you don't really want in a partner, and
Mhm.
now you know, so you can find something. You can move on to bigger and better things, as they say, right? And I think that's such a cool. I think that's such a special thing that like students trust you a lot to come to you with those problems, right? And like it's not in your job criteria to give relationship advice. Well, maybe like it doesn't say in like when you apply for the job, you know what I mean? But it's part of
Yeah.
it to some extent. It's like building relationships and being there for someone, right? And man, that advice is probably helped him, you know, and it gave stress off his back, so to say, and he can focus on other things and move on and heal, right? And I think that's super special.
Yeah, and that's like such an honor when someone comes to talk to me. You can look at it both ways. Like, I got to talk to this person, for an hour about relationships, and but I'm just so lucky that I'm still. I don't want to say cool enough because I'm probably not cool, but I'm still like that they want to actually talk to me about all these big problems in their life or medium problems in their life. Like, it's so lucky. I feel so blessed that I can still do that, and they can still feel comfortable with me. That's just amazing.
And that's a perfect perspective to have, right? It's like the quote is like, you don't have to do it, you get to do it. It's a
Hmm.
privilege, honor, and having that perspective of seeing things like that, like oh, like you can either be the person that says like, oh, I have to go to work, or you can be the person I get to go to work. It's an honor, it's a privilege to do so. Like oh, and then there's the miserable people who say like, oh, I have to listen to this kid complain about his relationship for an hour, and you say, I get to. It's an honor. I get to help him. Like having that perspective, that juice, that that positivity. I think that goes a long way, and I think
Hmm.
people see that, and it's contagious. And because they see that in you, they get to have a little bit of that inside them and share with other people, and it's like a contagious and like it's a circle effect, you know.
Yeah, I sure hope so. That's what anyone can wish for. And like to that point too, like I enjoy like I don't want to see bad things happen, like really bad things happen. But for some reason I thrive on the worst situations the most. I don't know. It's a weird thing. Like even the university had a call in, and I played such a small part of this with like a threat, a while back. And I was just like, what can I do? Like, how can I help with this? Like, I'm going to jump on and watch the video cameras. Like, how can I, I love that part of like, I hate that the bad situations are happening, but I love, to jump in and help with that situation, if that makes any sense. So,
You
I'm
love
just really
being
fortunate that people trust me enough to put me in those positions sometimes where I can be part of, those conversations and those decisions for sure.
and you. It's not like you said. You don't want anything bad to happen, but you love being part of the solution and
Mhm.
figuring problems and putting out the fires. And it's like when something bad happens, it's like, okay, it's go time. What can I do to help? What can I
Mhm.
do to find a solution and answer to make things better? And that's very admirable. Not a lot of people are like that. Some people turn a blind eye. Oh, has nothing to do with me. And then
Mhm.
they turn a different direction. And you was like, you go like there's a burning building, you go straight in there, and try to save everyone, right?
Yeah,
Which is
yeah.
really
Only the
cool.
Chiefs fan, so not the Patriot fan.
I'm sure. I'm
Not the
sure.
Tom Brady. If I find out they like Tom Brady, I'm gonna let him burn down. No, I'm just kidding, right? I have to make some more jokes. We're getting too serious here, Ryan. Right?
Sorry, but
I gotta make.
more, I guess more on that. I guess it's serious, no. But I know you said you grew up in a small town, and I like you're known for like ever since I've known you or known people that know you, they always say the same thing. He's so kind and so nice. Like growing up in a small town, like who were like your influences and who kind of helped you become who you are today, I guess. And it was your like teachers or obviously your parents are huge role models, but like how like being able. I always say like Bull is he's such a large, like a big boned guy, but he needs that because he has such a big heart, and that's why he has such a big body to fit that huge
Hmm.
heart gold in it, right? And I maybe talk a little bit about your positive influences in your life, and I find it so cool because you're such a positive influence in so many other people's lives.
One day I'm gonna get really skinny, and you're gonna have to get a new saying for me. But for now, I'll just eat my lettuce wrap burger and keep trying. But um, I yeah, like I mean, my mom and dad for sure. Like that's everyone's gonna say that, and I'm actually like so fortunate. My mom was the empathetic, loves everyone, wants everybody to be happy kind of person, and taught me that, and like literally did everything for me. Like she, just would love to do things for me, and that, and I think I learned a lot from her. Like, cause I love to do things that help other people, the smallest to the biggest, like thing you know. And then my dad is just like the most sense of calm person. Like I love to like my biggest I love when someone meets me and they say I'm like my dad because he's like, like my hero in my life. He, is very calm in situations. He never gets excited. A little bit different than me. Like I get excited about good things. He's a Toronto Maple Leaf fan, so he hasn't had too many good things. But he, he doesn't get super excited because he's going on a trip, or he doesn't get, that way. But he doesn't also get excited when something bad happens. Like he's just very calm, and so that's really helped me a lot with situations and dealing with life and dealing with emergencies. And my dad being so calm, and then also like everyone loves my dad. Where I'm from, like everyone, there's Gibby. He stops and talks to everybody. Everybody in the city loves him, and I watched that growing up, and my mom as well. But my dad was out more. He was the more social, playing baseball, hockey, everything he could. I mean, I think there's a couple guys from some of the stories he told me that don't like him very much from hockey and baseball, but no, those were, obviously the two biggest impacts in my life, and then really great teachers, great friends, that kind of thing. I always say like this saying that like my friends were cool, like in high school, like so like I'm not referring that I wasn't cool, but basically like I was in the middle, like I liked everybody, everybody liked me. I wasn't the most popular guy, but I also like didn't matter. Like they were cool, they were going to parties, I wasn't, but they still liked me, so that taught me a lot too, like that I wasn't, I don't want to say the best, but I wasn't like looked at as the best. I wasn't looked at as the worst, and I could kind of grow from that and move on and, just continue, I think you touched on this before, but build relationships with people, and build the respect with people moving forward is kind of how I operated. And like, especially my favorite thing, I hate to say this, but like to not kiss ass. Like, I'm not the type of guy that does that. I build relationships with people, and I didn't do well as well. I'm on a tangent now, but with the SPAD events, sometimes because it was a networking where you had to meet people and be like a little bit phony in my eyes. I hate to say that. Earmuffs for the
Yeah.
spatties out there, but it just wasn't me, and I know you had to do that, especially with. But it was always about building relationships. That it was never fake or it was never phony for me. It was always like I actually cared like about the person's brother playing baseball or about someone joining a band and things like that. It was never so I guess I came from being a small town. My dad, my mom, like teachers, like basically everyone in my life that just like part of that relationship building that kind of brought me like where I am today, I guess I would say.
Yeah, and I think every time I kind of ask that question, it's always the parents, and I think they obviously they have a huge role in our lives, a positive role. I wouldn't be where I am without my parents, and um, yeah, they do so much for me still to this day. So I think having a good foundation and being able to have good parents and good people around you, it makes the world a difference. And me being able to have the privilege to be friends with you for so long, I've been able to meet your family and Carly and the girls. They're so amazing too, and watching you be like a father figure and having that, I think it's a cool thing, and they're so lucky to have someone like you to be able to have a role model and a parent like you in their lives, and you and Carly are such a like the dream team, and it's pretty special to watch. It's for me when I see when I see you guys and you and the family come in, it's pretty amazing.
Yeah, I'm just so lucky to find her. I don't want to be cheesy, but she's similar to me and totally different than me. And like, she always wants to
Yeah,
help people, And then if people are not accepting of the help or like, I don't know how to word that, but like, she just wants so hard to help people. Like, she'll be like, for example, like my friends hard on their luck, and I seen them on Facebook and their washer dryer broke, and like, what do you think if we just like put X dollars in an envelope and drop it in their mailbox and like I'm just like, you're doing this for no credit. Like I'm definitely on board. Like that's she's not in it for she does enjoy being on the news and having her face out there. She enjoys that part, being on the news and being in photographs. But like she's just wanting to help people at the end of the day. So I'm so lucky to find her and the cheesy like she's made me a better person for sure. And the girls like they definitely tested my patience and helped me with my patience when they were little kids trying to put their friggin' snow boots on in the morning and stuff like that. But you know, it's they're my best friends in a different way. Like it's just amazing, and I feel like I'm the luckiest guy in the world, and hopefully they feel they're like a little bit lucky, at least not unlucky. To have me in their life, right? So
no, I think they know that they're lucky for sure,
yeah.
and I think that's super cool. Like you saying like they're your best friends in a way. I think it's important to have that special relationship, that bond, right? Like,
Mhm.
like talking about you and Carly always wanting to help people, and with your jobs, her as a nurse and you doing what you're doing, you're helping people all the time. And I guess like the transition, like even your new side hustle, you're always helping people too, as a travel agent. And I wanted to touch on this. I know we've been going for a long time, but this is one of my points that I wanted to bring up. Like, how did you end up? I know you love traveling and stuff, but how did you end up being a travel agent? Like, I feel like
Yeah,
where do you get the time to do it?
I don't want the self promotion like too much, but like Touchdown Travel, Facebook, look me up. But um, I yeah, I think that's such a cool name. I think my wife came up with that too. It's like touchdown, like because I love football and like touchdown like an airplane. Just like brilliant, I think, right?
I'll
I
put it
have
in.
no copyrights, I have no trademarks, so I'll be sued one day. But yeah,
I'll put it in the link of the
yeah,
podcast.
no, no. But anyway, I yeah, no. What happened was I always like loved travel, like you said, and like I remember Carly had a friend at work that wanted to go to Arizona for a trip, and I said, well, I'll help you plan it. I always love planning. Like actually, even planning our wedding was fun. Most guys are too tough, and they say like, "Oh, wedding, I didn't do any of that." I had the spreadsheet. I was the dorky, like Google Sheets, like had all these things on a spreadsheet and everything, and I was loving it. So the Arizona trip, I'd never been to Arizona, but I mapped it out. I researched things, and I put together an itinerary for this lady, and then she came back and she said everything was amazing. Maybe she lied to me, maybe not, but I felt really good. I felt happy, and that was just for fun. And then my in-laws actually, were going to meet with people at the travel place I work, actually Expedia Cruises, and by the way, they love you at Expedia Cruises. They're always talking about you, and they're always wearing your gear, which is pretty
Oh,
cool. You're right down the road. I think Leanne and Kevin and the branches,
no.
Karen, and they all love you. But anyway, um, the my in-laws were meeting about a trip, and they kept saying, "Well, Joey found this," and they call me Joey. Joey found this, and Joey found this, and they were like, "Well, you should tell Joey he should become a travel agent." So, and I always thought in my back of my head, like, yeah, that'd be awesome. Like that'd be really fun. So like I just went for like an interview per se. I think they hire like a lot of people because it's a consulting like side thing, and kind of went from there. And I just finished my first year, and I know like I feel like sometimes everything I say is cheesy, but like I'm not in it like to get rich. Like yeah, obviously everyone wants to be rich at the end of the day and like make all this extra money, but like I like to build like my clients or like my friends. Like like a client the other day was like, oh, the price went up $1,000. Like I shouldn't say this story, but the price went up or whatever the next day. Like I felt like crap for that person. Like I want them like I don't want to do this and on the backs of people and be like, look at I made X dollars because they bought the insurance or something. Like I want them to just have a great experience. Like I give them good advice. They feel like they've gained a lot from it. They have a good time. They come back, and yeah, how it works is the companies pay me a commission, on the side, like Air Canada or whatnot. So that's like a win-win to me. Like they're happy, I've helped them out. The company pays me, on the side. They don't have to pay me. So I get a lot of joy out of like seeing people have fun on their trips and come back. So I think it was a really good fit for me. Yeah.
So, and it's like a different way of helping. And you said it was fun, but like yeah, I didn't know you worked with Kathy and Kev.
Yeah, like I'm in there very rare. I'm mostly from home, but I
Yeah,
see them and they're amazing people. So, but every time they always talk about positive inception and everything. And I think they were doing a party for Ashley that's leaving soon, and they were gonna buy some positive inception gear and everything. And I'm like, these must be good people. Like, I mean, I listened to some of your podcasts again, and like, I remember JP talking about like, oh, these are some good people. Like, I see them in the street and everything. So like, I'm the same. Like, I gauge that, and I say like, these must be good people, except for the ones that are reselling on marketplace. Like, I don't know about those people, but but mostly like good people that have positive inception, right? So
yeah. I remember one time, um, like it was like now that it's getting bigger and bigger. I said like my buddies joke around and they screenshot the ones on Marketplace. And there was one time when I went to school and I signed one of the sweaters, and then
okay,
and then my buddy found it on Sudbury, swapping by, and it was like $15, and the description said like signed by the owner, and my buddy screenshot it. He's like, if you autograph it, wouldn't it be more money? Like, I guess that's how it works.
you have good friends when you can make fun of them. Like in my office, and everyone knows like in a weird way, like if I don't make fun of you, like I don't know you well enough, and I don't like in a good way, like so like
Yeah.
me and my friend Dave, like the whole day we just make fun of each other because we just like it's just fun, and we know each other so well that we can do that. So that's great that your buddies can be like, your shirt's going down in value every time you write on it. Like yeah.
Uh, but yeah, I thought it was funny. I think like that's what it's all about. And like when they joke around and I feel like they're kind of part of it too, right? And
Mhm.
I think like for me, I'm the reason why I like sports so much is like it's a team thing, right? A lot of the sports are team based, and I always think of like my life as a team. Like if I win, we win, and if I
Mhm.
win, my family wins. If I win, my buddies win, and like I have a different approach to it where like I want to bring them with me. If I succeed, we succeed, you know. And I think that's the I think it's important to have like team success or let them share the good, and because they'll be with me no matter what. They'll be with me during the bad times, during the good times, right? And I think having good friends that they can laugh about, all like laugh at, make fun of, chirp all the time, or
Mhm.
and then be there in like with a phone call, or be there like and be there for them whenever they need. I think that's what true friendship is. True friendship is people that they're there for you, and during the good times and the bad, they're there for you, no matter what. And like I'm so lucky that growing up, like elementary school, high school, like they're still my best buddies today. They a little bit of them is in me all the time, right? And I think
Mhm.
those are the people that you're more comfortable with and your coworkers and all. I don't have any coworkers. I'm the only one that works. But but like you joking around with your coworkers, that's a good work environment, right? As
Mhm.
long as you don't cross the line and go to
Yeah.
HR. But but I think like building that fun, playful relationship, it allows you to get a good environment, a healthy environment, and therefore your work gets done quicker and more efficiently, and everything kind of
Mhm.
roll, like runs like an well-oiled machine kind of thing, right? And I think it's super important to be able to do so.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you're kind of lucky in a way you have no coworkers because you don't have to share the kitchen or the bathroom or like get in those situations with them, right? But no, I thought of a little bit of a story as you were talking. You were talking about like sharing your success, and I remember a time in my life, like especially with Facebook and social media, like where I thought I'm not going to post this picture of this trip I went on, or I'm not going to post like my team won again or whatever because I felt like I was bragging. I felt like I was like showing everybody like, look at how great I am, and I'm not that type of person. So, and then I got a message from a lady that works at Kansas City, like with me, really awesome lady named Donna, and she was going through a hard time. She was going through cancer, and she put this really long message. But basically, she said on the message that I really love seeing you and your family and all the great things you're doing and all the trips you're doing. Like I really like I'm, kind of living through you on these trips while I'm having a bad time. And I thought, man, I need to change my perspective on this. So to your point of like sharing the success, like when all my friends post that they're, in Dominican or their kid won a baseball tournament or hockey, like it makes me happy. So like everyone out there, the four people listening and the three that just fell asleep listening to our stories, like go ahead and post. Like we want to see it. We want to see your fun things. We want to see your kids' first goal. Like I want to see your trip to Turks and Caicos. Like it's not bragging. It's awesome. Like that's why we're friends with you online. If we didn't like you, we just unfriend you. you know, like
Yeah,
so. Yeah, to your point, like I love to see all my friends do well. Like I make fun of them and make jokes about it and stuff like you, but your friends just like you. Like we're all like so happy to see your success, Brian. And like I said, like from everyone I'm sure knows now, from the backpack to the mall to the store to the double wide store, to the end of the world for you. I guess the sky's the limit. You'll be going with Katy Perry to space next, I think, on your trajectory.
I hope so.
You hope so, yeah. Yeah. Hopefully you can last longer up there with her. Like I heard she was up there for like 2 minutes or something. But anyway, yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty wild what people are able to do with technology. I thought you were gonna go. I thought you were gonna say something else with like a song reference or something, but I'll take
Yeah, yeah.
space.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah,
But
I'm not
yeah,
familiar with her whole record, all her records, but yeah.
yeah, I don't have a good singing voice, so I'll just listen to the music.
Hmm.
But
Awesome.
I think like that's such a good perspective because some people like in a negative light, some people always think like, oh, you're bragging about this or that. But like I think the read like when I use my social media, like my personal one, like I use it because I feel like it's like a journal. Like I post a really cool moment that like was important to me, and then I can look back on it like years. Oh yeah, that happened and this happened, and like
Hmm.
and think back, and I don't really care how many likes it gets. Like for me, like and then on your point, I love seeing everyone doing great things. Like I'm at the age now where everyone's having kids or getting married or like living like their kids' lives too, right? Raising them and doing like the first of everything and seeing that that's so cool to me. Like that's
Hmm.
like so there's so many different definitions of success, but I think that's one of the truest definitions of success. Being able to grow your life and have a like whatever you want your success to be, whether it's family or professionally, whatever. Like do what makes you happy and if you want to whatever you want to post that, right? And I think being able to share that and like I think when you share something you're proud of it, right? And I think I think it's super awesome and having that perspective of like people are doing good. You want people to do good. You want to root for people's success. You want to root for like you don't want to see people do bad ever, right? You always like no matter if you're a fan of them or not, you want people to do good. And I think if you root people and you have a good, you do things with the right intentions and you have good things and I think that's what it's all about. Good things happen to good people, and if you want good, I think good will return to you too.
Yeah, exactly. And having, I think you made it in life more when you realize like you're happy for other people. So I think when we were younger, we were more like, not that we never get jealous, but like we're like, oh, look at that person, they have this and they have this. We weren't really happy for them. We were just like jealous. And now we can like actually be like happy for them. So like
Yeah,
that's where I think you really like, you know, you made it in life more.
and I think like I know I said this a few times on the podcast, but it's like when you compare yourself to others, comparison is the thief of joy, right? And I think it's important not to compare yourself to other people and run and do your own race, so to say, and live your own life. And I think that's what it's all about, and be happy for others and root for others and cheer for others and cheer for yourself too and on the way up. And I think that's the right way to live, so to say and to be able to do that, I think it's truly important. But I know I've taken a lot of your time, and maybe one more thing that I had. I know like you're always uplifting, you're always rooting for people, and you always want people to succeed, and you always project the good in the world. But I wanted to ask, do you have like some advice or a quote or anything like that that kind of helps you on your day-to-day life to that allows you to be the Joey that you are?
Oh, that's a tough one. I mean, like, just like advice on my day to day life. Um, I mean, like, it's cheesy, but be yourself. Like, try to be yourself. Like you say, try to be the best version of yourself every day. Like, just try to live your life and try to be positive. I remember one time, I don't remember like the exact details, but things were happening like bad or good, whatever. And I would just like, there was like time in my life where I could like slow down my thoughts and say like, okay, I have two choices. I can either be mad about this or I can choose, option B, which is a positive like thing. And then that made me, able to like move forward. So I think it's kind of that, like being able to like take that second and be like in your head, you're probably saying like, are you kidding me or whatever? And like not saying that out loud to the person or the situation or but then just thinking in your head like, okay, and then reacting, like just taking a few seconds there just to like figure out the best way to move forward. I think that approach has really helped me. And number two is just like trying to stay calm all the time has really helped me, in every situation.
Like your dad.
Yeah, exactly. Just like I could, if anything in life I could be a little bit like my dad, then I've been successful for sure. Yeah.
And it's like the way you're talking about them, it's like you're the perfect mixture of both, which is pretty special.
I like to hope so, and I think subconsciously we all think like that. Like, in a way, like we all in the background want to make them proud, right? You know. Um and my mom actually passed away. I'm not trying to end this as a sad thing a while back, but that was something that changed my life too that I think about every day. It's like I could just sat there, for days and cry, but there was a time where uh, a, a switch flipped or whatever that saying is. I'm not good at saying, but I said I need to make my mom proud, and I move forward like making her proud every day, like trying to make her proud every day. And I think subconsciously we all do that on a different level, whether it's you think your parents want you to make a lot of money and you strive for that, or you think your parents want you to be a doctor and you try for that. Like subconsciously, that's professions, but just subconsciously you want to like make them proud and be like them, I think. And that's kind of how it was for me anyway.
Yeah, and I think that's so true. It's like I think one of our responsibilities as a kid is trying to make your parents as proud as possible, right? And I
Hmm.
think they put in so much effort and time and money and love and all that stuff. Like I think one of our main responsibility as like a child, or even like as their kid, is to try to make them proud, right? And
Hmm.
when I think about what you said about your mom passing away, um, and it reminded me of my grandma. I was really close to my grandma. She passed away a few years ago, but like I think about her every day, and instead of like being sad about it, like trying to make her proud, and she was one of my favorite persons in the entire world, and my parents, but like um,
Hmm.
thinking about her, and like she wouldn't want me to be like this, or you know what I mean, like I know she's
Hmm.
with, and I think like I want to make them proud, which is pretty, like, and it's like extra motivation to keep going, which is
Totally.
I think it's a good way to look at it.
Hmm. That definitely worked for me for sure.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, I think it's the perfect way to end this, and I appreciate you doing this, and this is absolutely awesome. It feels like every time we get together, we could probably do a podcast because it's always so much fun and enlightening, and having a friend like you definitely makes my world better, and I appreciate you more than you would ever know, and thank you for everything.
Well, same goes for me, Ryan. Like, the respect I have for you, and so lucky to have you as a friend and have you come to talk to our students, and like to be so honored to be the 12th choice of your podcast, the top 12. I don't know how many other people you called first and you couldn't get a hold of, so maybe I'm number 17 or so, but still to be the number 17 person in Sudbury, it's quite the honor. I really appreciate you asking me. And, regardless of all of this, just spending, the time with you is awesome, which, I would do this outside the cameras and by the way, I thought this was going to be just on like sound. So I thought I was more like a face for radio kind of guy, but here I am. So you got to look at me and my fan in the background for the 6 people watching on YouTube that accidentally tried to click on something else. Um, but yeah, no, seriously, like Ryan, we all love you. Like the whole community loves you. We love your brand. Like you're making us all proud. I'm the old guy that can say that now. Keep doing what you're doing. You're killing it. And like I'm gonna come see you soon. I'm sure for sure.
And we got to set up that the talk for the RAs this year
Absolutely,
too.
exactly. You're gonna come in and tell them, great message as well. Start the year out right, and we're gonna have another great year. And I'm gonna, be there with you at the Super Bowl on February 16th or whatever that day is, wearing our jerseys and cheering for the
Go,
Chiefs. Love it.
Oh, that's awesome, buddy. Thank you so much. This is so much fun.
Yeah, buddy. Same. Take care. Just two friends having a conversation. That's the
Oh,
best
yeah,
tagline ever.
it's
Have
perfect.
an awesome night, man.
You too, buddy. Thanks again.
Okay.